now from the IBA at Winchester, engineering announcements for the radio and television trade.
Hello again, and welcome to the IBA's Bulletin of Engineering Announcements for the Radio and Television Trade. Today, Paul Copel and Pat Hawker talk about interference to television reception. In transmitter news, the latest extensions to Channel 4 coverage and details of new relays at Austwick, Mochter, Kefenmaar and Skirmit.
But first, Paul Copel talks to Pat Hawker about television interference and the changes that people sometimes find on their television pictures in the summer months.
It seems to me that we seem to get a lot more of the fuzzy type of pictures, and also I know we get complaints about interference from foreign stations, and suddenly you're watching a programme and you hear French or a German come in on the picture. Is this always the case in the summer?
Well, it tends to be particularly in the coastal areas where you do get a lot more of what is called propagation, tropospheric propagation, bringing in foreign or distant stations and causing interference. It doesn't apply so much inland, where, in fact, the tropo season tends to be quite often in the autumn or the early spring.
Now, is there anything that can be done about this? Can the viewer do anything to his television set to improve the situation?
Well, there's two things. It's sort of co-channel interference, as it's called. You can improve things with changing your aerial to null out the unwanted station. But for temporary sort of tropo where it's only going to last for a couple of hours and so in an evening, it just usually isn't worth trying to do anything. On the other hand, if you're getting it as a constant thing, particularly this can happen when, for instance, a new relay comes on and you are possibly taking another station out of area, then certainly it would be worth trying to improve your aerial system to eliminate the unwanted signal.
Now, we've talked about what the viewer might be able to do. Now, the IBA, with its 30 years of experience and all its expertise, can't you do anything to the transmitters? Can't you make them more powerful during this season? Or
Well, in fact, if you made them more powerful, you would actually increase the problems because the signals would be travelling further at stronger strength and it would almost certainly cause more interference. On the other hand, if you were to reduce the power, you would probably find that pictures would become noisy and things. So, there isn't much that the transmitter can do. All the service area planning is based on the idea of providing good signals, interference-free for 95% of the time. But of course, 5% of the time can be quite a lot when it's termed in hours.
But on another aspect of interference, I think that the radio interference service still has quite a lot of work to do with CB, interference from CB radios and from other, if you like, man-made interference. Is this the case, in fact?
Oh, yes. I haven't seen any statistics issued by the DTI for some considerable time, but there is no doubt that man-made interference is still a great problem. And, of course, not all of the interference that people get on their television sets are the fault of the machines and so on, or transmitters that are causing the interference. Sometimes it's the fault of the receiver being more susceptible than it should be to local signals.
But I did think that when CB was legalised, that this problem might have come to an end, but obviously it hasn't.
Well, I think it's reduced, but on the other hand, one would be stretching it a little to say that all CB at the moment is legalised CB. In other words, there's still quite a lot of people using amplitude-modulated transmitters, which do cause more interference than the legal frequency modulation.
So really, coming back to what people can do about interference at this time, it's really a question of them trying to work something either on their aerial or their set, but there's not a lot we can do at the transmitter end.
If they're getting interference on a fairly regular basis, then certainly I would advise them to consult the Radio Investigation Service, and you can do this by going to the post office and obtaining a form which you have to fill in. It's a form called Good Radio and Television Reception. But of course, before you do that, you really do want to make sure it's not a fault in your own receiver or your own aerial.
Transmitter news now, starting with special announcements. A further reminder about the aerial maintenance at Stockland Hill in the southwest, where reduced power operation and occasional interruptions will continue until about the middle of July. In the north, the same applies to Pontop Pike and Callbeck, but until the end of July. In Northern Ireland, there's reduced power from Broffa Mountain for about a week. And in the Shetlands, the Balta Sound relay is liable to interruptions and reduced power until Sunday.
In the Borders, the Cambret Hill relay will be off today between 9:30 and 11:30 for electricity board maintenance. In Cumbria, Kendal is expected to be off today until midday for aerial maintenance. And in Bristol, the Barton House relay is expected to be off today between 9:30 and 10:30 for aerial maintenance. Also off today, the Garth Hill relay between 9:30 and 11, and the Blynaven relay between 9:30 and midday, both for electrical inspections.
Moving next to Gloucestershire, the Cirencester relay is affected by mast maintenance and is scheduled to be off until 11 o'clock this morning and until midday tomorrow. And in Herefordshire, the Kington relay will be off tomorrow morning from 9:30 until 11 o'clock for electricity board maintenance. Dorset next, where the Winterbourne Stickland relay will be off tomorrow between 9:30 and midday for electricity board maintenance. And the Weymouth relay will be liable to short breaks between 10 and 11:30 a.m. for aerial maintenance.
In Lancashire, the Whitworth relay is expected to be off until midday from tomorrow until Friday for mast painting. In the Lake District, the Windermere relay is expected to be off until midday on Thursday for aerial maintenance. And in Bristol, the King's Western Hill relay is also expected to be off for aerial maintenance, but until 12:30 p.m.
On Friday in Wales, the Llanbryn Mare relay will be off between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. for electricity board maintenance. And the Ebervale relay will be off from 9:30 until midday for an electrical inspection. Next Monday, the Brecon relay is liable to interruptions until midday for aerial maintenance. And next Tuesday, that's the 9th of July, the Pontardawe relay is also liable to interruptions until midday for aerial maintenance.
New relays now, starting with Skirmit near High Wycombe, which is due on air later this week. This relay covers about 500 people in Skirmit, Turville, Fingest and Hambledon. Thames Television and London Weekend will be on Channel 41 with Channel 4 on 47. The aerial group is B, vertically polarised. Skirmit is expected on air later this week.
In North Yorkshire, the Ostwick relay near Settle is expected on air this week. The relay covers about 550 people in Ostwick and the rural area south of Clapham, including Lauchland. Granada Television and TVAM will be on Channel 49 with Channel 4 on 42. The aerial group is B, vertically polarised. Ostwick is due on the air later this week.
In North Wales, the relay at Mochta near Colwyn Bay is also due on air this week. It will cover about 700 people in an area just north of Mochta. HTV Wales and TVAM will be on Channel 23 with S4C on Channel 29. The aerial group is A and the polarisation vertical. Mochta is expected on the air later this week.
Still in North Wales, the Cefn Mawr relay near Ruabon has been delayed and is now due on the air at the end of the month. It will provide the Welsh services to about 6,000 people in Cefn Mawr, Garth, Pont Kisselt and Newbridge. HTV Wales and TVAM will be on Channel 41 with S4C on Channel 47. The aerial group is B, vertically polarised. That's Cefn Mawr delayed until the end of this month.
Channel 4 next, and conversion work at existing stations. Now on the air, in Greater London, Walthamstow North on Channel 68, in Cheshire, Macclesfield on Channel 32, and in West Yorkshire, Walsden on Channel 67.
Due during the next couple of weeks, in Greater Manchester, Ramsbottom on Channel 68. This relay will cover about 3,500 people, and in Kent, Faversham. The channel here is 32, and the relay will serve a population of 3,000.
Well, that's all for this week. Our address, Engineering Information Service, Independent Broadcasting Authority, Crawley Court, Winchester, Hants, SO21 2QA. Join us again next Tuesday, either at 9:15 or 12:15. From Janet Smythe and myself, John Lovell, goodbye from Crawley Court.